Ready, set, go.
Welcome to The Sweet Spot, an UpDog podcast. I am Andrea Morissette.
And I'm Jack Faley, and we are your hosts today.
We are very excited. We have Caitlin Zilla here today. Everybody say hi to Caitlin. Boop, boop.
Hey, everyone.
So tell us a little bit about you, Caitlin. Tell us about your dogs, what area you live in, what club, a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Caitlin. I live in Northeast Ohio. So I'm about an hour south of Cleveland. A lot of people know where Cleveland is. So I'm way up north up there. I have 3 dogs. Everybody knows my one dog, Clue. She was on the AKC Disc Dog Challenge with me. She is my border collie. But I also have 2 other dogs. I have a cattle dog mix named Zola and a poodle mix named Jackson. I do a little bit of disc and dock diving with my dog Zola as well. But Clue is my first sport dog. She's my first border collie. So she's kind of been a really exciting addition to my life when I got her a couple years ago. But outside of dog sports, I'm a data analyst by day. So I live in data. And then after I'm done with that, I go hang out with my dogs.
So you said that you started playing with Clue a couple years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, I got Clue in early 2022, so right after the pandemic kind of cooled down. And it was kind of by chance that I stumbled upon Disc Dog. I got her with the intention of trying out some dog sports, but Disc Dog wasn't really on my radar. I didn't really know what it was when I got her, and I attended a local UpDog event and just to spectate, and it turned into this. It was awesome. Yeah.
We love hearing that. It's
Yeah.
a sport, but we love hearing that UpDog had you fall in love with it. That's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, UpDog was my first disc dog introduction. Started with Bike Club, actually. That's where we really started. So it's been a lot of fun since then.
Very cool. Well, we are glad that you found UpDog for sure.
Yeah.
And we're glad that you're here. And the reason that you specifically are here is because you were a total rock star in our AKC Disc Challenge. So our topic today is going to be the AKC Disc Challenge. You were an absolute rock star on national television. So national television, I know how much pressure that can be. You were invited for Time Warp and Frizgility. So what were you most looking forward to playing? Like what were you most excited about?
Yeah, so Frizgility, hands down. Put me in a crossover game over any of the disc-only games. I'm definitely more comfortable on the field with the crossover games. It's kind of my jam. Clue and I are way more connected in those crossover games, I think, by far. So definitely Frizgility.
Were you nervous, like in general? Like how nervous were you? And then was there a difference in your nerves between playing Frizgility and playing Time Warp?
Yes. So during the event, we played Time Warp first. I knew that wasn't the game I was going into most confident, most comfortable playing, and the rain as well kind of threw me for a loop. So I had a lot of nerves going into that one, but I actually threw on a pair of gloves last minute. I was a last minute decision. I was like, I don't know how because the rain was affecting the discs. And so I kind of threw those on last minute and it kind of worked out in my favor, which was really nice. But yeah, I was really nervous about that game because that game for me, it's one throw can make it or break it for you, like out of zone, a missed catch, all of that. So I had those kind of nerves going into that one. And then Frizgility, I really wasn't nervous for Frizgility nearly as much just because that's where we feel at home is with those crossover games. So I went out there and had fun with her. Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, that's
Can we talk a little bit more about Time Warp? That, like you said, that was the first game, right? And I forgot that you put on the gloves, but now that you say it, I remember that. Obviously, Dre and I were judging the event, and the rain was a little bit of a factor. I can definitely see that. And like you said, Time Warp is just a game where it either all comes together or it could fall apart with just one toss. So like when you walked up to the line, I can't remember. I think you were close to the end of the competitors, but I don't think you were the last competitor, right?
No, I wasn't the last one, but I was definitely in the last half of the competitors to play that game. Yeah.
So did that impact your strategy? Like, were you listening and like trying to see like, okay, what's the high score so far? Like, what was going through your mind when you stepped up there?
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to the scores. What was going through my brain really the whole time was my practice on the day before. It was really windy during that practice on that Saturday, so I wasn't confident after because I didn't feel great about my time warp practice on Saturday. So going into it, I remember warming up without my dog Sunday as well for that game, and I was still like really not confident in my precision throws. So yeah, I just kind of had a pep talk with myself. I was like, you just got to push that disc. The sweet spot throw was really throwing me off. So yeah, I wasn't really looking at scores. I was really enjoying watching everybody and cheering everybody on. And yeah, they were great in doing the same for me. But yeah, I was definitely just making sure I got that sweet spot zone. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely like it's a game of inches sometimes, and it's definitely a game of like split seconds. And I remember Clue like landed one time with I think her back paw like right on the line.
It
And
was. It was
yeah.
right on the line. Yeah.
And so like you said, it's just, it can go so right or it can go so wrong with just a fraction of an inch or a split second. And
Yeah.
then I think you ended up with a personal best, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So in terms of like times down to the milliseconds, that was my personal best round for sure.
That's awesome. I mean, coming up big at, the AKC Disc Dog Challenge with a personal best, that's awesome.
Yeah,
And
that was
then and then you just had to ride it out for those remaining players to see if your score stood, right?
Held up,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
there was a lot of good rounds though, from everyone. So
well, what happens though when you put out that, I mean, you ended up with was it an 88?
yeah, for Time Warp scoring wise, it
Yeah.
would have been 88, yes.
Yeah. So when you put that down, like, yes, somebody might be able to beat an 88, but they've got to have a blistering
Much
fast,
pressure.
perfect round. So you kind of put the pressure on the rest of the teams. Like, here it is, 88. See if you can beat it in the rain, right?
Yeah.
So that was great.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, if you watched on TV, I think my reaction was the most genuine it could have been when she caught that fourth disc. I was so excited, because I did see her. I watched her when she caught that first sweet spot catch. I knew her paw was on that line, so I was really hoping she would grab that.
Waiting for the call to see if you got it.
Yeah. So once I heard you say catch, I threw out that fourth one, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was definitely close. I remember I had to wait for our sideline judge on the other side to give me the okay that I was correct, that it was in. So hey, that's the way the game is played. That's the way the game is won.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm pretty sure I was the one who made the in call. So I mean that brings us to strategy, right? So a lot of moving parts happen in Time Warp in like a split second. And if it's on the line, you have to wait for the call to make that fourth throw. And if you had waited, it would have changed the time. You had to go for it, right? So like, how do you practice for that in Time Warp? When you're training, like how do you practice for Time Warp to work your strategy in all the different variables?
So the strategy that I do, that a lot of people will do, is they do the zone 1 catch, zone 2 catch, zone 3 catch, and then they'll do the sweet spot double shot in that order. I do that as well. So for me and Clue, it's really about my timing on my throws. Because she's so quick to grab the discs out of the air and then drop them, because she knows the game, I have to make sure that I'm not too early or too late on my throws, especially with that double shot sweet spot, because I'm not extending it any further down the field. So for me, practicing that at home, I practice the timing of my throws, and I try to give myself landmarks or things to look for to know exactly when I need to throw for her. Yeah.
I hear a lot in what you're sharing too about like your intent, your thought and intention around your throws. Like when we talked about agility crossover games, you're like, oh, I got no stress. Like me and Clue have the agility stuff. But your focus on Frizgility and on Time Warp is really about your throw accuracy. So that's a recurring theme that I'm really hearing from that like you're really focusing on working on the throws part of your game, focusing on that, and the rest of it is a little bit less like stressful for you.
Yeah.
So like teams that are also practicing for Time Warp, maybe they have different skill sets, maybe they have the same skill set as you and Clue. What tips can you give them for like how to train for a game of Time Warp and be able to be competitive and put up big numbers like you guys do?
Yeah, it's actually cool you bring that up because I play the opposite strategy with my other dog Zola because she's not she doesn't play disc the same way. So I always like to play to the strengths of your dog because every dog is going to be different. Every dog has a different set of skills and strengths and things that they're better at. So, for example, with my dog Zola, I do a 3-2-1 strategy. So we go backwards down the field. She started out playing with just one disc, so she's not great with multi-disc. So that's kind of where we started. We played Time Warp with one disc. Zone one catch, come back, bring the disc, and do those other catches as well. And we just focused on the Time Warp at first and not the double shot sweet spot. Sweet spot double shot, said that backwards. So that's kind of where we start. So we've kind of worked our way up and she can do, those 4 catches now in a much quicker way because we make it so much fun. And so when I started out with both of my dogs, teaching them the games and teaching myself how to throw for both of them because they're both very different dogs, I just always remember that it's a game at the end of the day. And so just to go out, have fun with your dog, play to their strengths, really have a party for them when they're getting it and putting the pieces together. Yeah.
That's great.
So as a dog trainer, like I can compute everything that you just said, right? But as somebody new coming into the sport that's new at disc, like how did you know to switch to a 3-2-1 for the second dog if they weren't as good with the disc versus the first dog that has a really nice quick drop catch? I can see why the 1, 2, 3, 4 and then being able to exchange, there isn't a problem there, right? But like somebody new in the sport that doesn't know what they're doing, and right now they're doing the throw and retrieve for Time Warp, and their scores are going to be pretty low with a retrieve each time. How did you get your Zola, right?
Yeah.
Get Zola into a strategy that worked for her? And what tip would you give somebody to figure out maybe what strategy fits their dog? Because your dogs are so different. How did you figure out that Zola needed something different than Clue needed?
Yeah, so I think a big thing with, especially where I live, I have a local club who I play with. We have a really great dog sport community here, and we have our own UpDog club. I'm in Seville, Ohio, so Dog on It. They're my club. Shout out to Dog on It. But they have been really great. And so when I first started in Disc Dog and UpDog, I just started with Clue. And then I started to see if Zola would like it. And it was kind of a slow introduction because she didn't want anything to do with a disc when we first started. And I think my dog sport community was a really great critical factor in helping me figure out how to play with 2 different dogs. So we would always get together, train for these games and just have fun and play. And I'd be like, oh, this isn't working for us. Can you watch and can you kind of see if you could see anything that I can change and might work better for us as a team? And so getting feedback from other people, just going out, having fun with your dogs, getting feedback from your friends, find a local UpDog club. They're so welcoming. Everybody's really great in helping, but really just trial and error. See what works best for your dog. What does your dog find the most fun? Do they like chasing rollers versus air catches? I started with rollers as well. So just kind of trying different things with your dog and seeing kind of what brings them the most joy. Yeah.
All right. From the champ's mouth right there at a big event. Nice work. I'm sure that feedback will encourage lots of new players to try some different strategies and reach out to their club and feel like that really is the culture of UpDog, this community that we've created. And I think that people that are new to dog sports or coming from other dog sports where it's not as collaborative, they might not know that that's totally our vibe. So yeah, that's perfect. Come on out and show up at an event randomly. People will put this in your hands. They'll probably hand you one of their dogs and throw you in the round.
Yeah.
And get some feedback from your club. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is great to hear. And you've got a great club up there. So, and I mean, that's just like Dre said, that's what it's all about, is a learning club, like clubs that are learning together, trying different things. That's awesome. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. So we talked about Time Warp. I want to know about Frizgility here, especially since you said that was like the game going into it you felt most confident about. Now, I do remember you were the last one to go in Frizgility. And that's kind of a good spot to be in strategically, right?
You gotta do.
However, you just had two players right before you went throw down some pretty nice rounds. I can't remember. I think it was was it 185 or 175 that they put down? Either way,
170.
what was it?
It was 175, I think.
175. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Either way, way more points than I would get. And so I just saw two teams put down some really good scores. Did that impact you at all? Like, did you watch those rounds? Did you know that they had just scored 175 when you walked out there and kind of had in your head what you needed to get? Or so talk us through that. What was your thought process?
Yeah, I don't know if I actually watched the two rounds before me. Because I had Clue kind of in the waiting area, ready to kind of go onto the field. So I'm not sure if I watched the two right before me, but I do remember watching everyone else go because I was dead last. So yeah, when I first saw that running order and I saw that I was dead last, it made me sweat a little bit. It definitely put the pressure on because they do small to tall, where you jump the lower jump height dogs first. And most people jump 12, but for Clue, I jump her at 16. So that put me dead last in that running order. I was the only 16-inch dog as well. So I was definitely feeling the pressure because of that. You know, strategically, yeah, you could go out, but I actually wasn't, again, I wasn't paying attention to the scores. I was having such a good time watching everybody out there and just cheering them on. So yeah, when it came to my turn, I actually didn't know what the top score was when we got out on the field.
I think that's a
Wow.
smart
Okay.
idea. I might do that from now on, actually.
What'd you say, Dre?
I might do that now on in competition, just not look at the scores and just cheer for people the whole time, to like, that sounds like it created a really fun environment and experience for you instead of being really nervous. But, most people would be pretty impacted by the big rush of nerves and two people right before you put down monster scores and now you have to go follow that. You hear that all the time. I have to follow that. That's a great mindset to have to really keep it fun.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dre. I think, at least from my perspective, if I know that somebody just put down a great round, that puts pressure on me, and I get more nervous when I walk out there. The reason why I asked you, Caitlin, was because, like, I remember judging it, and I knew what the two high scores were because there was two scores at 175 that were tied, and I knew what that was, and so I knew what you had to get. And I just remember at the end of your round, Clue was coming, like, you guys, I think you were perfect all the way through, and Clue was coming around, and you had like about 5 seconds left. And in my head, I was like, are they going to try another run through, or are they going to go to the sweet spot? And you just kind of like casually, it looked casual. I'm sure it wasn't, but like it just looked like you just knew what score you had, and you walked into that sweet spot and snagged that 185 and got the points that you needed. So that's why I was wondering, because it just kind of seemed like you knew and you just were like, no, I don't need any more jumps.
No.
I'm gonna go into the sweet spot.
I had no idea what my score was. When I'm out there, I cannot do math at the same time as obstacle instruction and disc throwing. So I had no idea what my score was. I was just so happy with how she ran the round, and my throws were really on point for her, and she was so good at listening to me. So, because if you watch the broadcast back, I was talking to her a lot. I was giving her a lot of instruction, and she was taking it in stride so well. So I was just so happy with where that was when the 5-second timer started counting down, and I had to make that choice in that moment. And I was like, you know what, we're going to end on this high. We're just going to hang out here for an extra 10 points. So yeah, that's kind of why I made that decision.
Well, that was great. I mean, obviously it was the right decision too to walk away with the win as well. But I love hearing how it was just kind of natural, and it was just something that, like you said, you had a great round. Let's just walk in, get our 10 points, and leave it at that. That's amazing.
That's like one of those magical round experiences where it just like everything works out and it's easy and there wasn't stressful and you had time at the end to make a logical choice. That's great. That does bring up one strategy question for me. You were the only dog running 16. So again, as somebody who's done some agility, like I know the difference between jumping a dog at 12 versus 16 and how that changes the dog. Like, what was your strategy and why do you jump at 16 instead of 12? Or like, is that what you normally jump? Like, kind of tell us about that whole decision-making process.
Yeah, so outside of Disc, Clue's an agility dog. And so in the venues that we run agility in, she's actually a 20-inch jumper.
Yep.
And when we first started doing crossover games when she was a year old, we were kind of going back and forth between 12 and 16 for agility. She was working up to her full jump height at that point in time. What would have been? It would have been like last year, early 2023. So, you know, when we started crossover games and agility training, having those two different jump heights, I noticed that she would knock 12 inches a lot.
Yeah.
but she didn't have the same issue in agility training with 16-inch bars. So I actually had a close friend, and this goes back to, you know,
Community.
the community is so great and so welcoming and so supportive and open to feedback. I was talking through this issue with her, and she had mentioned trying to raise it up to 16 since she's not having that issue with 16-inch bars. And yeah, I did, and it almost disappeared. So she stopped knocking the bars nearly as much. So we continue to do 16 in the UpDog crossover games. She transitions between 16 and 20 well for agility and the UpDog crossover games. So, but yeah, that's the main reason I jump her at 16 in UpDog. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. So in my mind, you know, if a dog is jumping 12, they're going to run faster, which is why people choose the lower jump height in UpDog as a strategy for our crossover games, because technically it's faster for a dog to not have to jump as high, right? But then they're not collecting the same either. So that's really cool that you found a happy spot at 16 where she can still go faster, but paying attention to her collection. So that's another one of those little gems inside of Frizgility that are really cool. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and the faster you go over a jump, the bar has to be up for you to get those points. So that's kind of also, that was part of our strategy as well. I'm like, you can't get the 5 points if the bar's on the ground. So yeah, I found that sweet spot between 12 and 20 at 16 inches. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, and definitely at an event like the AKC Disc Dog Challenge where you've got top teams there, a drop bar just kills it for you. Like, especially if that drop bar happens early in your round, you're kind of sunk, because that's a lot of points that you're missing out on. So I like how you kind of shared with us your thought process around the 16-inch jump. Before we leave Frizgility, any other tips for new players that are listening in and wanting to know, like, how do I get to be as good as Caitlin and Clue?
I guess another part of my Frizgility strategy is that I will direct my throw. So I'm a right-handed player. So I sent my dog clockwise through the Frizgility obstacles. And then I aim my throw towards the right side of the throwing zone. If you're looking at the throwing zone, I aim towards the far right. So kind of in line with that first obstacle, especially with a fast dog, trying to get your throws perfectly in the center, that could be really hard because they're coming around that last jump really fast. So I give her more time to make her running arc to that catch and have it in the right side of that catch zone. And that actually sets her line really nicely to take that first obstacle again. And so she's not having to kind of reset her line through every rotation in the Frizgility obstacles. So that's kind of part of my strategy as well.
It's back to that very purposeful, thoughtful throwing that you were talking about earlier with Time Warp and that Dre mentioned. So very cool.
And that plays into freestyle. So like, again, we're freestyle junkies and all of our games have freestyle skills inside of them. And one of the freestyle skills is shapes. And so that's exactly what you just demonstrated with the arc that you're throwing. We're creating interception. We're creating an arc line. And what that does, that allows the dog to continue to move forward. So they're still progressing in the game. They're not stopping. They're still in collection. They're thinking about their movement because they're curving instead of running a straight pursuit line. So it increases your chance that the dog is going to catch. It increases that the dog is going to get a leaping catch, which is going to prevent your outrun. and that's all going to save you
Yeah.
time, and then you can control the flank into the. So yes, it is all about. It still is all about freestyle, in my brain. But that was a really good example of using those interception and flank skills to create a really efficient line and keep Clue fast on that line, so she doesn't have to drive down, stop, turn around, or have an outrun and then come back. You're really just
exactly.
loop.
Yep.
So about the event overall, do you have any like cool fame stories? Like anybody, like long lost friends or family members hitting you up for money because you're famous now, or people from college that see you on television and know that you're a rock star now and they're buying you lattes or anything like that?
Oh, that would be awesome. I'm a coffee junkie, so no. But I had so many people reach out to me, so many people that I haven't heard from in a while, say, "Hey, we saw Clue on TV." I mean, my neighbors,
Oh,
they're so cute. They were like, "You got to tell us what channel it's on." And so no, it was really great to have so many family, friends, UpDoggers, fellow UpDoggers just reach out and congratulate us and be excited to see us on TV. That was my first time on TV, and so it's a really fun experience to just be on the other side of that for the first time. And I actually had some family from Greenville, South Carolina drive up. They live about, I think it's less than 2 hours from where we did the Disc Dog Challenge in Asheville, North Carolina. So they were able to make that trip, and my dad came with me on the trip down to Asheville. And so it was really special to have them there to cheer me on. They are so supportive of the fun life that I lead with my dogs. So yeah, it was a really great experience to have all of that.
That is really cool that you had some fans in the stands.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
we're gonna have to make signs next time. We'll get family to bring signs, like waiver signs in the audience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Caitlin, first of all, congratulations again on your success at AKC Disc Dog Challenge with coming in first place in Frizgility, first place in Time Warp. And thanks for joining us and talking about the experience with us and sharing some of your training tips. We appreciate that. But we're not done with our interview yet, because if you listen to our podcast, our initial podcast, you know that at the end, we always do kind of like a fun round. We call it the Time Warp round. And we are going to blitz you with some questions. And you're going to have 60 seconds. Don't think too much about your responses. It's just to let our listeners know a little bit more about you. Some of these questions will be just yes, no, or this or that. So just fire your responses as soon as possible. We'll see how many we can get through. We got 10 questions for you, and Dre's going to start a timer for us. Dre, are you ready? Caitlin, are you ready?
Let's go.
All right.
All right. Ready, set, go.
All right, Caitlin, who is your favorite Disney character?
Oh, Simba.
Would you rather be playing video games or board games?
Board games.
What is your favorite dog disc to throw?
Supersonic 215s.
Woo-woo! What always makes you laugh?
Oh, my dogs.
What is your favorite UpDog game?
Funky.
Nice.
Would your 12-year-old self think that you're cool?
Oh, yeah.
Are you tech savvy? I think we already know that one.
Yes.
If you could have one superpower, what would you want it to be?
Flying.
A good one.
Where are we at time-wise, Dre? We're doing good, right?
11 seconds.
Okay, what is your favorite dessert?
Oh, anything chocolate.
Street smarts or book smarts? 5 seconds left.
Street smarts.
Nice job.
Time.
Completing the Time Warp, all 10 questions. Way to go, Caitlin.
Right on time. Nice work. Ooh, I got so into that, I forgot to even update you guys on the timer. I was like,
I know. I'm like, how much time? I
don't know.
I thought we were past time, so I thought you were going to be like, oh, we already
I
passed.
had no idea how much time we had, but the alarm didn't go off yet, so we were still safe. That was fun. You crushed that one, Caitlin. Nice work. Thank you for being here with us today, Caitlin, and thank you, Jack, for being on the podcast with us as well. If there's topic that any of you guys want covered, make sure you jot it down. We're going to be asking you for your feedback and your topic ideas on the UpDog discussion group soon. So make sure that you're ready and compiling ideas of topics for us.
Well, Dre, it was great co-hosting with you today. And Caitlin, again, thank you for joining us. It was great having the conversation about the AKC Disc Dog Challenge with you today. We are looking forward to seeing everyone out at an UpDog event soon.
And everybody, be kind to each other.
And be kind to your dogs.
I'm in Seville, Ohio, so Dog on It. They're my club. Shout out to Dog on It.